Hello, everyone. My name is Danny, and this movie review is for Midnight Sun. 17-year-old Katie Price has been sheltered since childhood with a rare disease that makes even the smallest amount of sunlight deadly. During the day, she is housebound, but after nightfall, Katie can venture out to the local train station and play her guitar for travelers. One night, her dreams come true when she's noticed by Charlie, whom she has secretly admired for years, and decides to hide her condition from him as the two embark on a uniquely powerful romance over one nearly perfect summer. This is rated PG-13. It's a 2018 movie, runs about an hour and a half, and this stars Bella Thorne and Patrick Schwarzenegger. And honorable mention to Rob Riggle. He's, wow, something else. So, I have a lot of notes. I'm just going to dive in, okay? First note I wrote down is that this movie is genuinely funny. Like, it keeps real to itself, it does what it wants to do, and it keeps you fresh, and people say what you want them to say. Not many movies exist like that. I appreciate it more than I can express. There's a couple, if for anybody who used to watch the '70s show, they say, "Oh, burn," all the time. There are a couple burns in this movie, and I kind of liked it. It made me jump out of my seat a little bit. They were such good burns. The first one is on this brat at a party who's spoiled, and she kind of likes Charlie, but this girl's there with Charlie, and so she knows that she can't have him, and she gets burned pretty good. This other kind of dorky kid gets burned later, but there's some good ones, and the back and forth is just so good. So, like I said, genuine. It's really appreciated that I get to see a movie this fresh. It's great. Funny things happen. The friend of Katie, she ends up ending up with the one person on the planet she supposedly can't stand. He's just way too much of a dork, and it actually continues throughout the movie that they end up together, and it's just the cutest thing in the world. I mean, it just makes you smile. It's just a breath of fresh air from a movie that, the somebody saying that they can't stand somebody, that's who they end up with. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. I know it's not original, but it doesn't happen all the time because people don't want to be new and genuine. They would just want to, say that that person stands no chance with that person most of the time. So I just like that they went that way. There is a point in this movie that I kind of thought it was going to be a very typical kind of movie. I know I should have started out with this, but this is obviously one of many, 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 many movies like this. You could probably name 10, while you're watching this video review so far. But it doesn't end up being so typical where it just loses interest. It keeps things nice and light and, kind of easygoing. And the characters are so well working with each other. Like I said, they just say the right things. They keep it light and humorous. They keep it serious when it needs to get serious. But it just keeps moving. There's no like stale part. There's these times that Patrick and Bella are going on these dates and stuff. uh, you would think that it would just lag and just not be anything, and just why are we spending so much time on these dates? But it doesn't feel like that when you're watching it. It just doesn't. And so I appreciate how they kept it light. I'm not really sure how they achieved not making me bored, but they did. I mean, it just kept me interested the whole time. It was great. I did have to plug something. that here, hold on. Here you go. Yeah, the Seahawks. I'm a big Seahawks fan, and supposedly this movie mentions Seattle. It's by Seattle. I enjoyed every minute of that. It's just a personal note on me, so I didn't take that into consideration for how much I like this movie, but I did like that part of it. I kind of fanned out on that, and they mentioned Richard Sherman, but I don't know how early in 2018 this was, or maybe they made it a long time ago. I know that's how movies work. I know how long it takes to make a movie, but they mentioned Richard Sherman, and now he's with the 49ers. So, what are you gonna do? So, I wrote down two questions because, like I said, this gets to be kind of a typical person that's sick wants to fall into a romance kind of movie. It does get that way for a while, and it is that movie. I mean, that's just what it is. That's it. I can't help it. But we've had a million of these movies before. I wrote down two questions of when the boyfriend tapes Katie singing in Seattle, if something was going to come of that, and something does. And I wrote down another question if, all this talk of he needs to follow his dreams and go to college, if he ends up doing that, if they address that, because for a while there, it just seemed like it was going to be about her being sick and him finding out and her dying. And I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be a complete movie and answer these questions and follow through with these assumptions, and it did. So I appreciate it on both of those accounts. A lot of movies chicken out and just have something happen at the end, and you forget about everything of the material that you've thrown out there. And this movie covers it up, and I appreciate that. I appreciate resolution. Thank you. There are a couple things towards the end that raise questions. Uh, okay, so here's the situation with this movie is that she has this thing called XP. She can't be on the sunlight. If she ever does, it just triggers her body into like failing immediately. And so, that obviously happens. That's why the movie exists is something triggers her failing. Well, she goes to this swim meet and she goes to do this stuff. It's like you gotta kind of have a conversation. So I'm gonna say it out loud if anybody ever watches this video that like when you do what you can do to save yourself, wearing a hoodie, is that really enough to protect yourself? And if it was her whole life, then why couldn't they just dress her in all dark clothes and wear a hood like some of the European countries do and stuff? I mean, there's so many questions for this movie to make sense that you could just rip it apart. So I started thinking them, but I don't want to rip it apart because it's a really enjoyable movie. But there are questions to be asked and answered if you want to lean that way and you want to be harsh about it. I have to compare this movie to something because, like have said a couple times now, there's a million of these type of movies. I want to put this up there with A Walk to Remember because it's enjoyable. It makes sense. It has a great resolution at the end. The characters are great. The father is great. Everybody around, the friends are genuine. They're there for him. They're supportive. Most of the movie makes sense. Most of the movie is really funny. And the romance is like, what it is. It doesn't try to trick you. It doesn't try to oversell it. It's just two people that are seniors in high school that want to kiss, and and I think the message of the movie is clear that she wants to try and feel normal before anything ever in her life would trigger her body failing. And so that's what it was. And it didn't oversell it, so it just was comfortable being what it was. And I think that's great for any movie to just go about your business, be really funny and genuine to your audience, and make sense and have a message and have a nice ending and have some resolution. That's what this was, and I appreciate it. The last thing I have to talk about is somebody that I have not been able to like stand at all. Out of all these movies behind me, I don't know if I have one with him in it. I have not been able to stand Rob Riggle. I just have not. I don't know what is about him, but he's like in every movie, and he's always this stupid character that has nothing to say, and that's how he's made his living, and that's fine. But I've never like connected with him like Adam Sandler or something, that is stupid, but he makes me laugh. But there are characters and people like him that I've just never connected with him. This movie makes it. Like this has got to be his best acting performance of his life. It's gotta be. He had me about 5 times in this movie, and I didn't know he was capable of that. What he just did in this movie, he literally makes this doctor woman that comes to his house cry, and they're the most profound words I've heard out of his mouth in a movie ever. And he sold it, man. He sold me. I hope he sells you too. I hope people give this movie a chance. If you've never heard of it and you're thinking what I thought, and you like don't want to go there and watch another movie like that, please try and, I'm telling you to try and let go of that and give Midnight Sun a watch. I'm going to give it an A. I would love to watch this again. I laughed, I cried. Everything about it made most sense, and I can deal with the slow romance scenes because it throws in a joke, it throws in a mystery, it throws in conclusion, it throws in, a side character having something happen that's profound. It doesn't ever get boring. It just keeps moving, and it's great. I would put it up there with A Walk to Remember, but it's been so long that I've seen A Walk to Remember that I can't really compare the two. So I'm just going to say this is the best version of this movie that I have ever seen because it is more funny. It doesn't have to be as dramatic. It really isn't that dramatic. And, it just makes sense. I like the simplisticness of it. So please try and give Midnight Sun a watch. It's one to remember, and I think it's going to make somebody's top list as long as people actually give this movie a chance and hear about it. So try and put it on your list, give it a watch. Thanks a lot. My name's Danny. If you like this or any of my other videos, try and give some of them a watch. Like and subscribe to my channel if you would. Thank you to my 10 subscribers so far. I started this journey just not knowing what to expect. And so any more subscribers I get, any more views I get, I appreciate every single one of it. I'm getting really close to my 200th video, and I just think that's profound. So I've had a lot of enjoyment with some of my videos getting well over 100 views and 200 views, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll keep doing this as long as you all keep watching, and thanks a lot. Enjoy your movies, guys. Thanks.